So I just want to address the little dust up because I have this thing. I'm like a when I see arguments, I want to settle them, which is probably not well thought out because that's an exercise in futility largely. But I'll try anyways and makes discussion. Gary came from. Well, first start with this. Gary is the grandfather of role playing games. You know all of that. And but here's the thing. He was a human being and he had opinions. Everybody's got opinions. Um, the logical fallacy called argument from authority is in play when people go to something like the Dungeon Master's Guide 1E, screen grab it, throw it in with a statement that's a statement of opinion, and say, this black and white print says that I'm right. No argument. That's an argument from authority, and that's a logical fallacy. What the the section that was grabbed is about go easy on people. Don't use every rule, otherwise you'll have people who will not want to play. And that just comes from the experience of being a war gamer and everything else. There's a couple of problems. There's a lot of people, and it seemingly, even Gary, had sometimes would decree to you what was fun versus wording it as, well, this is, I don't find this fun. Or at the very least, I think most people wouldn't find it fun. And in some cases, that's what he was trying to say, and it's clearer than other times. But nonetheless, an opinion is just that, it's not fact. And no matter how many people anybody thinks is in the majority, it's not 100%. Not everybody likes broccoli, not everybody likes beer. Insert whatever into that phrase, and it still applies. And that includes all the rules or styles of play that were discussed by Gary in these books, saying, well, you don't really want to do it that way because it's still subjective what is fun. Now, I think what he was doing more was trying to capture some of the wargaming rule assembly, which was here's your basic rules, here's your advanced rules. Start with the basics because you can grasp only a little bit of information at a time, dividing it up so it's spoon fed. So when you get new players, you maybe want to just not use every rule. And everybody who's hearing this going, see, that's what we mean. You can fudge whatever you want. You don't have to use all the rules. Well, here's the thing. Uh, Not all the fine, and you're perfectly within your right at your table to omit whatever game. I played plenty of games where people are like, I'm not doing that encumbrance stuff. Sure, but that's different than saying I can fudge any result, I can supersede any rule, I can make up whatever I want as I go because Gary said so. Because that's not what Gary said, and even if he did, it's still not a game. Um, and the other problem with the particular exchange that I had was the person saying this was saying it's a matter of opinion, but yet providing citation as if it was fact. And then when it was challenged, going back to no, 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 you're just talking opinion. So it was walking down two paths at the same time. It was kind of passive aggressive and stupid, really. So no, nothing Gary says, even in the books, and I've had other people act this way. But he made the game. Okay, that's still an argument of authority. If I was saying armor, plate mail armor is a different armor class than it's rated as, and you said, well, Gary said it was this, that would be one thing. But you're talking about subjective opinions, guidance, and notes. There's all of that are in the DMG along with the rules. Hey, most people won't find this fun, so you should do it this way instead. Okay, and that's still an opinion. That's not a rule. It's so like most people talk about. these books are arranged poorly. They're often hard to understand. That's why people have rewritten them and put out things like the Osric and all that. And these statements by Gary that people use as some sort of irrefutable fact are also a big problem. He was just trying to tell you, be easy on noobs, which everybody understands, and ease people into the rules. Don't try to shove them all down a noob's throat or they'll choke because it's too much. That's all. But in order to play a game, you have to have rules. Now, give you an example. I played with toy soldiers with some friends, and we got tired of just setting them up. We wanted to make a movie. We wanted to tell a story. And so we all got together. We even had a notepad. We even, we were going to write out a little script and everything. But we didn't really have any idea, so we just started moving them around and acting like it was a story, and we were going to try to film it as we were moving them around. Well, some of the boys, we divided it up. We said, you guys move around. We had to have people moving both at the same time. We had this idea that somehow we were going to be able to get our hands out of the shot, which we weren't going to be. We weren't ILM, but we were going to move them around simultaneously like those little hockey games where you turn it on and all the people start moving. So we had some people pushing the Germans and some people pushing the Americans. And what happened is people got bored and it was adversarial because we were controlling two different things, and we kind of turned it into a war game when we'd say, hey, this guy should get shot here and this guy should blow up there, and all this happened. And people would say, no, those are my guys. I don't want them to die. And we started to argue. And that's when somebody came out that was visiting my parents, saw what was going on, came out, asked about it, talked to us, and a couple days later they showed up again and they had a set of war game rules, and said, this is what you need so that you're not trying to kill each other over what soldier gets blown up. Because I had a couple of friends that were much like these. We were young, so it was more understandable, but they were a little bit maladjusted, and when you argued with them too much, they started to get physical. So we were getting into fights, and that's when these kids, these adults came out and says, before you beat the hell out of each other over this, here, try this war game, because it made structure. And that's the difference between a story being told and a game being played. And if you keep saying that you can throw out any rule you want, then you've already have a predetermined conclusion. And that's a story, not a game. A game is a contest, and nobody knows what's going to happen until the game's played out. But if you fudge every rule, or even partially fudge rules or dice rolls, you've already made predetermination as to what the outcome's going to be, and you are no longer playing a game. So it's not about one true way. It's not about telling you what to do. It's simply a matter of using the proper label. And don't come into a space and tell people that they're being aggressive or fanatic or trying to tell you what to do when they say no. If you're hitting a basketball with a tennis racket, you're neither playing basketball or tennis. You can do that and have fun, I suppose, but don't tell me it's one of those two sports, because it isn't. It's just a matter of telling you how definitions and labels work. You're either telling a story or playing a game. So, sure, go ahead. Omit rules that you think suck. Change them if you think that. Lord knows we all did enough of that. But it's this idea that presented to me in the original argument that prompted this video, that Gary said you can fudge everything you want anytime you want. No. And even if that's what Gary said, he'd still be wrong. And now I've said that before, and some people go, but he made it, and they stop following me because they were addicted to the idea that an argument from authority is a factual, ironclad way of arguing, but it's not. So his opinions are still opinions, no matter what his background and expertise is. But again, I think I'm repeating myself, but if it was something like magic missile is not magic missile, if I misinterpreted or misdefine magic missile, and Gary goes, no, let me correct you, this is what it really is, that would make more sense than he doesn't think something's fun. So This is that, and that's what all this is about. These arguments keep coming around and around and around, circular, and it's always people that won't stick to a ironclad definition, or won't spend enough time putting out a full argument because TLDR, or because you have a 280 character limit or whatever. So you can't pack it all in there, and it gets misinterpreted, or people aren't just. I'm one of them that are could be a lot more succinct in the way I type and speak and all that sort of stuff. So when I'm just trying to settle something that keeps reoccurring and address the idea that if you want everybody whom follows you to hang off every word and nod in agreement for every, you know, declarative statement you make, you might want to put your account on private, Sporto. So get some thicker skin, folks. I thought I was bad. Jeez.